Welcome to the Beanstalk. I'm the giant at the top. You can call me Bean, and today I got another Remnant 2 build video for you. I'm calling this one
Rot God.
The Toxic Release Valve Amulet seems pretty weak at first glance, but I wanted to make a build around it for a long time now, and the Awakened King DLC gave me everything I needed to make it more than a meme. I'm calling this one Rot God because I'm spreading clouds of corrosion and rot wherever I go, and the whole build is centered around that theme. I have the Ritualist in the primary slot because this is largely a status build. I'm using the skill Miasma not only because it's very powerful, but also because the word miasma means polluted or foul-smelling air, so it fits the theme perfectly. It might also be my favorite skill in the game. I have Challenger in the secondary slot for the 35% all damage when in close quarters, and because this is also a melee build, I'm using the skill Juggernaut. The Toxic Release Valve Amulet deals acid damage and applies corrosion when you swap weapons, but it can only activate every 3 seconds. I doubled down on this effect by throwing the Kill Switch Mutator onto the Sporebloom. This Mutator does explosive damage to surrounding enemies when you switch to the weapon holding it. The effect can only activate every 10 seconds, but when the Mutator is at level 10, explosive kills decrease the cooldown by 1 second, so the effect can trigger way more often than it first may seem. I also really wanted to use this because it doesn't look like explosive damage at all. It looks like a smoke cloud. The Sporebloom also has the fantastic Spore Shot mod, which makes a pink rot cloud and inflicts slow and an AoE rot dot when it explodes on impact. In the pistol slot, I'm using the Nebula because it does acid damage and inflicts corroded with its primary fire, and Nano Swarm is a great mod that can be active while performing melee attacks. I attached the Harmonizer Mutator not only for the damage, but for the mod generation it gives me for the Sporebloom. My melee weapon is a God Splitter, which is part of the reason this build gets to be called
Rot God.
I have Tainted Blade maxed out in the Mutator slot, which increases melee damage by 20% per stack of corroded on the target, and we can get up to 4 stacks rather quickly and easily. Especially since at level 10, Tainted Blade applies corroded on charge attacks. So with 4 stacks of corroded and Juggernaut active, that's 130% increased melee damage. God Splitter synergizes with this very well because its mod Fracture causes all attacks to register as weak spot hits for 2 seconds after a charged attack. For rings, I'm using the Red Ring of Death, which helps stack the corroded effect by duplicating the last negative status applied to the target. It does decrease overall status effect damage, but this downside is easy to compensate for. I threw a mythic elemental damage relic shard into the Tranquil Heart and followed it with melee attack speed and weak spot damage to make the God Splitter more powerful. Next I have the Ahane Crystal, which helps boost burst damage when Miasma is active. This is a multiplicative damage bonus, so it's important to attack as much as possible while all 4 statuses are up to take full advantage. You can substitute Xania's Malice here to focus on weak spot damage if you'd like. Next I have the Band of the Fanatic, which boosts status damage by 25%, but decreases status duration by 65%. Now that the status damage calculation bug has been corrected, this pairs perfectly with the Ritualist archetype trait Affliction, which more than negates the downside of the band. And lastly, I have the Stone of Malevolence, which increases mod power generation by 15% when dealing elemental damage. This of course means my mods come back very quickly. For armor, I'm using the Bruiser set with the banded helmet because of the gas mask look, and I drank an armor concoction to make myself more tanky. For traits, I maxed out Flashcaster, Fortify, Kinship, Triage, Vigor, Endurance, and Expertise. Then I put 5 into Swiftness, 8 into Siphoner, and 5 more into Recovery, although if you're good at neutral dodging, you can probably put the recovery point somewhere else. Remember that a lot of the damage in this build comes from activating the amulet and the kill switch when you normally wouldn't be able to attack, like when dodging or running. And that's the build. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep going and grow the channel, and hopefully smash my first goal of 69 subscribers, because that would be nice. But that's going to do it for the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Later, gamers. I'm beginning to feel like a rot god. Travelers from the front to the back nod. Nightweaver thought she wanted to slap box, but she folded like playing poker on laptops.